Hey, and welcome to my Valheim base tour, just as it emerges from the distance. This is a little bay that leads into a long inclined meadow. And this is what you see when you first come in. 4 castle towers, a statue bestriding the entryway, and a great beacon in the back where the central castle is. The shield's made of a hexagonal dwarf gate. The warrior skirt. Made of darkwood shingles. The idea I always had was to return with all your things with your boat and to walk up these stairs to this keep. And honestly, it's gone like pretty much the way that I would have thought it was. Obviously, you can't plan for everything. But I redid central parts of it with black marble without overhauling the entire castle. These are all your armor sets. You walk past kind of a history of all your battles into your central keep. Every one of the bosses, except for the boss whose head makes the statue, waits in here. Every one of the high-end weapons from the Mistlands lines the walls. Your final 2 armor sets, basically. Well, the Fenris armor, which is my favorite set for dashing around, is there. And then the final Mistlands armor set is there. Dragon eggs in the fire. Riches everywhere. Every trophy in the entire game that I have, not all of them, but most of them, on the walls. And there's the queen herself. And there it is. If I move over to Free Fly, I'll show you more. Inside, this goes all the way up. This was a real pain to do. This was one of the hardest parts of the entire game, is to figure out how to make sure to learn everything about grounding. I had to raise... Here is a wisplit river. There's 2 rivers. There's 2 creeks all along here, which is the reason I chose this area. This creek here... All 4 castle walls have a collection of the banners. There's about 2 full rotations of every color banner in the game. Ballista's here. 4 identical tower keeps. Ballista's here. A birch forest. The base is roughly done into quadrants. 4 huge oak trees helming these things. It's basically a terraced system. There were some ideas earlier of maybe making the staircase higher, but if I wanted to have some area of this, if I wanted to have some degree of bringing up the terraces, it was going to go this way. This is the kitchen. There's my dog Magic. Just killed a serpent. A serpent's back. I kept that serpent alive the entire game. In this bay, guarding this bay from, you know, myself and no one else, but I felt like I was attached to him. And then, just as I was starting to do this video, the serpent got a little too touchy and I got taken up on my dog. Here's your kitchen. Pretty elaborate front. And then this is the chimney that goes around the 2 bonfires. The back's a little plain. Inside, lowered little area with everything for the kitchen. The 4 trophies I didn't put in the other room, I put here. Those are the main foods in the game. Across here is sort of like a Rivendell style work area. Everything's in here, opened up, everything fully upgraded. Over here, thanks to my friend Zemi, he had a great idea that if you have the refined Eater, like the Eater refinery, which shoots out little orbs everywhere, if you totally encase it in a pyramid, it'll be safe. Here's my garden. Essentially my only use of console commands, except for, you know, today doing this right now, was to place raspberry and blueberry bushes. In my defense, it was past the part where I actually really needed them. I just really like the look of it. Double gates. Chests on the base of each castle. I did these floors myself using just the 1x1 floors, painstakingly raising them all the way up. No really need for ballistas on these two towers. The angle is just not really sufficient. This is my sort of preliminary pit area where you tame things. It's a beautiful meadow. This is my peasant's entrance, made of wood and thatch. This is for dishonorable guests, anyone who doesn't get the real red carpet. The real red carpet. This is the only wall that's a single wall, the seawall here. Everything else is a double wall. It took me a long time to figure out how to do this. I had to learn that the game basically turns your... If you raise ground or chop ground, it's always going to be jagged unless you perfectly follow it northeast, south, and west. So I eventually just had to figure out a point to square it off so I could make these as even as possible. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Here's the royal entrance. Beautiful. One of like the most consistent people to come check me out during Valheim made this. The second made this. This was something that I had a vision of back in February, 5 months ago. But honestly, I don't know if I ever could have made this myself, but my friend Anne just did a perfect job of doing what I described. It didn't take her that much time either. This is really, really amazing how striking this looks from a distance. Torches here. All of this to keep up. All invasions happen from here, essentially. I carved out a moat. The ground is so high here that the water levels couldn't transfer all the way through. You'll see my spike gates got a lot of work here from various low-level meadows creatures. So there's a meadow on each side, as I said. There's a little creek on each side. Both of these are natural. And then I dug it through here. Cages block creatures from coming in. But this river, I dug all the way through my base. This is kind of like the undeveloped quadrant. Birch forest, whist trees, and another beautiful kind of Rivendell-style gate, a bridge here. This is the part I left pretty wild. You need some part of that, I think. Soften down these riverside walls, and then through here, this little area does it for me. That looks right up into the castle. Over here, we have the 4 oak trees, as I said. And here are my paddocks. Here's the chickens. Chimney in there to warm up those eggs. The river that extends all the way through the entire base there. Boars. These locks, which are exceptionally talented at climbing on top of each other and getting out of here. Also, if any sort of grayling or any sort of tiny low-level creature is around here, it drives them into an absolute frenzy. I love that. The base is so large and a little bit too spacious that once in a while a grayling will just spawn here. These wolves will obviously then destroy this, and I'll have to play wrangle the wolves to get them all back in. But it's worth it. And then I will show you the tower hub. So there's 2 ways. There's 2 portals in the base. I love how the bosses sometimes just trash talk you. It's one of my favorite parts of this area. You'll be sitting here hanging out and the bosses will be like, ah, tons of people have killed me. You're not the only one. Here is the portal upstairs, all the way up there to the bedroom. It's time for me to hang up my clothing. The final intimate armor set. I really like being a mage in this level, in this game. Up here, full hearths on all sides. This was a genuine challenge to do. A raven throne. I chose wood for this. A little more comfy at home. Darkwood dividers. A 2-level roof. Here's the essential design of the upper tower. Oh, if you press Alt, if you have in a walk mode, you move slower. That's interesting. Double raven design. Darkwood dividers to block off the wind. A bit of glass here. I had glass as the blocks, as the walls before. I don't think it looked terribly good. from a distance. There's something, the glass is a little bit disappointing in this game. It just doesn't have the look that I would hope it would. Here's everything. One final show. This meadow with these oak trees, this way down. It was over here that I first saw it, to look down over all this, to see this beacon as high as it possibly could be. Elder was way over there. This nice little bay to always make it a little safer to come home. This generally was a true joy to make. One of those things where you saw this area and you don't know much about the game, but you have a certain vision for how you want everything to go. And I'm really happy with how it went out. It took a couple 100 hours, I'll give it that. And the final piece is the portal hub. And I'll show you a little clip of what the portal hub looked like on my way, the first time I ever saw it, and what the vision for that was. Okay, so coming around the first time I ever did a full circuit of the continent, this is a pretty big one, I discovered. I was coming all the way around this bottom little tip, and then just as I passed by covering this coast, this is basically how I saw it the first time. Obviously I was in a smaller boat, but just out of this little island at the tip of this little bit of black forest, there emerged just this tower, perfectly undamaged, and had this real King Arthur feel to it. So I thought about this later, because I always just remember that. I marked it as Isle Tower and just really, really fell in love with it. So I'd realized later that it would be pretty cool to make a portal hub, as opposed to just having a ring of portals in your base. This way you can have a lot more. And that's how it became to be. Got a pretty weird, kind of organic, strange design. I'll show it from the inside next. Hugely tall pine trees, beautiful surroundings, and I'll show the view from up there next. Now that you've seen that, I will show you, instead of having like a ring of portals in the base, it takes up a lot of space and it really limits how many portals you can actually put in. I chose to use that tower that you just saw here as a central hub in a distant area that you can enter, just kind of an economic move. And here it is. Every central portal has an arch. The banner back to the base has this one. All of the main portals that I used over the course of the game. On the first level, here on the second level, we have the 4 major bosses: Bone Maths, Moder, Yagluth, and the Queen. It's a beautiful view from up here. It's a strange sort of like organic design, kind of like upstretched talons. But the view in this area is really, really special. I really do think it kind of looks like a Lady in the Lake, King Arthur type tower. These 2 gigantic pine trees, which are probably twice the height of the tower, which is incredible. I never touched the tower, really. I just refurbished it to make sure everything was repaired. I probably got rated more here than my actual base. And there it is. It's a strange organic design. When they're all lit up, it looks very cool when you're standing in the middle of it and the portals are out there. This is where the magic happens. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it makes you consider playing Valheim yourself. I had a really great time with this. This has been the most rewarding part of the 6 months of streaming that I've done. And there's a lot of beauty, a lot of frustration, and a lot of real creativity with this game, which I was really grateful for. I had a great time doing it. And thanks for watching. See ya.